My name is Bill Scott. To paint and to show one's paintings, for me at least, is a way to say I exist. I see the paintings as my more stable, confident side. They don't flinch. They are better than I at exerting their existence.
I have been friends with Bill Scott since we were students together at PAFA in the 1970s. I have watched him evolve into one of the best abstract artists in the country. The images that he builds from observation and imagination never fail to move me. When I see them, my heart always jumps, as if I am suddenly in the presence of some fantastically beautiful person. I made a movie about Bill in 2013 when his work was featured at the Michener Art Museum. When I found out that his upcoming show at Hollistaggart was on hold, I knew it was time to make another one. Like all the artists in this series, I asked Bill for pictures and some audio files. Bill's audio covered the basics of how he works and his history as both an artist and a writer. And if you want an excellent take on all of that, Google Bill Scott Painting Perceptions and read Larry Groff's superb interview with him. But that's not what this film is about. Because the audio Bill sent me also contains something much more precious, a glimpse into his soul.
I'm alone a lot of the time, and I'm always alone when I paint. So having an exhibition can be a way for me to actually see people and to meet people, which I enjoy. I obviously do not get to choose who will like my paintings any more than I'm able to choose who will love me. But I hope other artists might feel inspired when seeing my paintings in the same way that I feel when seeing theirs.
Sometimes funny, often sad, his words embody what so many of us are feeling, and they make us feel less alone. Bill's emotional honesty at this time feels like a gift.
I'm very grateful to the people at Hollistaggart for postponing my show and making me really realize that they're going to do it in the future. I have a box of invitations to my show and another box of catalogs, and when the gallery reopens, I'll send them out. The first half of my career, not one single art dealer came to see my work in my studio. But since I've shown with Hollis, every time I have a show, they come to see what I'm doing. I feel confident because this time I'm presenting them with what I think are the very best paintings I've ever painted. Of course, there's also a fear that never goes away, that it's obvious to everyone but me that the paintings are all awful. I always brace myself that when they come, they'll tell me they don't care for them at all, but they'll do it very tactfully. And of course that doesn't happen. But in some ways, I think it is that insecurity that's very important to me, because to overcome it, I paint. Later, the insecurity returns, and I paint again.
Bill has been incredibly generous over the years, especially to the many younger artists who he has mentored. Bill, along with his friend Alex Konevsky, has also been incredibly supportive of the owners of Cerulean Arts, which has been a godsend in an era of closing Philadelphia art galleries. Bill lives by himself in Center City, Philadelphia, and the pandemic has robbed him of some of his greatest pleasures. Going out for coffee, or having dinner with friends from the arts community. And the long walks that he so loves to take are also in limbo.
The last time I took a walk, one guy sneezed as we were passing each other, and another one coughed. I was annoyed, but deeper down, I was really scared. So now I listen to records I like and walk up and down my stairs. And I remain at home.
Bill told me that when he could do so, walking helped him clear his head when he was at an impasse with a painting.
Sometimes the most productive walks ended up at the Philadelphia Museum of Art. I'd go in, look at 2 or 3 things, and leave while I still felt I might finally know what to do next. My favorite gallery there now is the reinstalled one with paintings by Monet, Morisot, Renoir, Vuillard, Matisse, and Bonnard. It's kind of astounding to me to see how painting can transport me to so many different places, feelings, and memories, all while I'm there simply standing still. I really miss going there.
Bill shares a lot aesthetically with the French painters that he loves. I think there's just enough sadness in his work to make a viewer ache over its beauty.
Pleasure and defeat. For me, both feelings are integral to making a painting. I see my paintings as parallel to the images I envision when reading poetry. Sometimes it's representational, sometimes abstract, but always fragmentary. I paint an imaginary garden. My family never had an actual garden. Our yard was overgrown. I remember back then someone teased me that it looked as if our house was surrounded by a rainforest. My parents argued a lot, and home life was usually stressful. The yard seemed like an outside extension of the chaos that I felt existed inside. And as a way to escape, I withdrew by drawing and painting images of fictional, harmonious places where I yearned to be. Although that's long in my past, I never stopped trying to create a painted image of that imaginary paradise.
Bill's paintings often contain geometrical shapes that relate to the forms he sees or remembers. When I asked about all the circles in his new work, he had a surprising answer.
Circles have appeared and reappeared in my paintings for a long time. Sometimes I think of them as placeholders for flowers or for another form. Some people see them as people. A circle can also simply be a way for a painting or part of it to remain momentarily afloat. When I was young and speaking on the telephone, I would make small pencil drawings on a pad of paper we kept by the phone. I think the drawings served as a way to alert me to know how I was feeling even before I was consciously aware of how I felt. I realized later that if I felt trapped by a conversation, I found myself drawing squares and rectangles. When the conversation was bearable, yet I would still have preferred to escape, I drew triangles. Best of all, when it was a pleasure to be speaking with the other person, I would draw circles.
Color is integral to Bill's aesthetic expression, and he revealed something that greatly surprised me.
There's something about my use of color that I'm unconscious of when I'm painting, yet it seems clearer to me months after a painting is complete. That is, my colors often do not correspond directly to how I feel. When I'm happiest inside, ironically, my paintings are often constructed with earth color and black pigments. They're very dark. But I tend to use higher keyed primary colors when I'm feeling down. It's as if the buoyant color can keep me afloat when I feel I'm sinking. I felt pretty sad for a few years, and I anticipated and accepted that I'm likely to be painting uplifting-looking canvases at least through the next presidential election. Yet, now that I am going to be inside for a long time, and I know it, I just sit in my studio and I stare. I don't really seem to be able to do anything.
In these audio tapes, Bill seemed to be arguing with himself over the very purpose of art.
I do not need to see a painting that tells me the world is in extreme distress. I regret that I do not think painting will save the world. When I paint, I need to allow myself to feel extremely vulnerable. I need to allow myself to fail. That is how I feel constantly now. But I don't know that I can bear to feel this way all the time and still paint.
Maybe art won't save the world, and yet the solace it can offer may save some of us, including the artists who create it.
I realize increasingly that when I paint, it's the only time in my life when I have absolutely no fear. "16 years ago, a painter friend who I admired and loved died. And just before he died, he gave me a beautiful blank canvas he had stretched and primed. And he said, 'You paint this one.' It's been in a corner of my studio all this time because I just couldn't bear to touch it. But I realized it's time I painted."
Bill, my friend, looking at your paintings while making this film has greatly lifted my spirits. I also thank you for sharing your emotional struggles in this hard time. I know that both your art and your words are going to help a lot of people.